she does it her way and I do it my way. And we both have a pretty decent amount of compersion capacity. And so like that joy that you get when somebody, your partner, walks through the door and they just had a really good time. And I'm like, you had a really good time. That is awesome, right? Am I slightly jealous that I didn't also have a good time at that same time? Yes, but you coming in with this light on your face brings me a tremendous amount of joy, right? And that's awesome.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 401.
Almost episode 500.
Almost. One more close.
One more closer.
We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a lovely conversation with Cooper. He's been married about 17 years, and the two of them opened their marriage about 3 years ago. Today we have a great conversation about how they've figured out what works best for each of them, including how they navigate hierarchy, coming out to others, and embracing their own curiosities and ways of exploring connection with others.
Yeah, one of the things I really love about this story, about Cooper's story, is that even though he and his wife have really only technically, officially, been open in their relationship for a few years, he talks about how they've always had a very open mindset around their relationship, and they always had this sort of idea that there was more out there, as he puts it. And I also love how this mindset showed up when when she brought the idea of opening up to him around her sort of libido waning during perimenopause, and that rather than them seeing this as just a solution, it became a doorway to a whole new set of opportunities for each of them and the relationship. And it's just a wonderful. I'm so excited I can't talk. It's a wonderful conversation, and we're really excited. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Cooper, for reaching out and coming out and sharing your story, and for being a member of our community.
Whoop, whoop.
For anyone who's a premium subscriber, we're going to jump right into the interview with Cooper now. And for anyone else, we're going to go through a few announcements per usual. First up, our premium subscription. If you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front, but don't worry, we still share important dates of upcoming events in the outro, so you won't miss out on those. To sign up for the premium subscription, go over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage. You can sign up right there for only $4 a month.
And a few minutes ago, we mentioned to you that Cooper is a member of our community. If you don't know what that means, well, our community is full of over 300 people from around the world who socialize and support one another all day, every day. We use an app called Mighty Networks. That's where everybody congregates. And we have monthly community calls, in-person retreats, and we've started doing free monthly workshops as well. We've got one coming up tomorrow.
Our next monthly workshop is tomorrow, July 17th, 2025. It's called The Role of Somatic Attachment in Relational Repair with David Cooley. We're super excited about this workshop.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. So you can head over to our website, click on the community tab, and there you can learn more about joining our community, and you can see a link there for all of our workshops for this year, including full descriptions of not just the workshop, but also the people who are leading these workshops. So please go check that out. We'd love to have you join us tomorrow. And if you happen to miss it,
don't worry.
You can get the recording as part of our community as well.
And you can also join upcoming workshops we have coming up on reframing hierarchy, strengthening connection through play, choosing a pleasure-based life, and so much more.
That's a hell of a lot.
Yes.
For $8 a month.
Yes.
So go check it out. Join us. We'd love to have you be part of what we're building.
Next up, we wanted to remind all of you about our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. You hear us talk about this all of the time. It is a service that Finn and I use. It is fast and efficient and discreet. Using the links over on the resources tab of our website saves you $10, making a 10-panel test only $129. And you get to support the podcast and the show. Thank you so much in advance for doing that. And of course, best of all, you get to know your sexual health status.
Yep. So thank you as well from my side. And the last thing we wanted to tell you all is that we would absolutely love to have you reach out to us. Please send us an email, send us a voicemail if you have questions, if you have feedback, or best of all, if you, just like Cooper, want to come on the podcast and share your story, that's how you do it. So please reach out to us. We'd love to have you come on. This show doesn't exist without you. So that's your cue. Get your ass on the podcast.
And now let's go and talk with Cooper.
Welcome to the podcast, Cooper. We're super excited to chat today. We know you're excited as well. You just joined the community. You've been listening for years. We're thrilled to dig in. So welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm super happy to join and just be on with you guys. I've listened to you guys for a while, so I feel like your voices are always in my head anyway, so it's nice to have a real conversation.
Totally. Yeah. And it would be weird if we said the same, like, yeah, we listen to you all the time.
That would be weird.
But we don't. So let's get to know you a little bit. For anybody who's not familiar with Cooper, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, Cooper, let's see. Just generally, I'm in the Phoenix area. We've been non-monogamous, like officially non-monogamous, for about 3 years, and that story goes back further now that we kind of start breaking it out in our head. But I'm married. We've been married for 17 years now, and our non-monogamous journey has been super fun. We love it. I want to talk more and more about it, and
well, you're in
that's
the right
generally
place.
I'm middle-aged, 40s somethings, pretty generally.
Yeah, love it. Well, let's dig into it. Let's go. Well, actually, let's start with, what does it look like today for you and your wife and anybody else who's in the picture, and then let's go back to what you're sort of starting to unpack is like the origins of this for you two.
Gotcha. Yeah. So today. So, like I said, I am married. We have 3 kids. We started our officially non-monogamous journey about 3 years ago. We are. I have a pretty regular girlfriend that I see more than once a week regularly. We see each other and talk a lot. I occasionally date separately. Also, my wife also has her different partners that she enjoys and has some regulars and stuff like that. We just like to share that. We have dated together a few times. I guess gone down the swinger / go meet couples route, and that was while that was fun. Like, none of that was not fun. That was all fun. One, meeting like another couple that both of you jive with and stuff like that. And we've always felt like we do need to, like, we do enjoy people and conversation and want to get to know people. And it's not just a, hey, you're here, let's go. We tend away from that. So, like, just the logistics of getting 4 people together at the same evening with, if they're our age, they probably have kids too or something like that is difficult. And we also just found that our non-monogamous journey is just slightly different than each other, and that's part of how much we enjoy this fact about it. And since we started, I really dug into. I'm a questioner. If you're familiar with the 4 tendencies, I'm a questioner, so I like gather information, and I'm just like, I'm the data. So I've gone back in like anthropological studies, and Sex at Dawn was a great book for me to read, and like, oh, this is who we are. And I've really dove into who we are as human beings and how this social interaction works, and I don't know, what I think of the kind of the farcity of monogamy in fact, I really, really love that you guys it's normalizing non-monogamy, because I love it to be normalized, and like referring to it as the negative non-monogamy, right? Like I want another word for it that means something.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, I'm not gay, like I am, right. Like, you don't say, if you are gay, you're like, you're just not straight. No, that's like, I don't like referring to the negative, because I feel like we truly are non-monogamous as biological creatures.
Right. It shouldn't be the negative, right? It should be the base. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
That's the default. If people choose to be monogamous, I'm totally fine with that. If they made a conscious selective choice into it, that's great.
Totally.
But
yeah.
And that leads me, that leads me into like how we got here when we really dove into it. So I guess we'll segue.
Let's do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, right?
You're making our job real easy.
Exactly. That's where
Right,
it'll
right.
take us. So let's go back in time.
Excellent. So I don't know. This is about 3 years ago. I guess about 4 years ago, we definitely started thinking there's more to there's more out there than we really can grasp. That's putting too much putting too much weight on it. We kind of always knew we were not going to be each other's 100%.
Okay.
Right. There's you go out and you do things. You have hobbies. I mean, in the normal world, you have poker night with the guys. You have these other things that you fill different aspects of your life with different stuff. And I mean, it started coming to a head. My wife was going through perimenopause, right? Just bodily changes, things happening, her desire went to the floor pretty much. And she didn't want to feel guilty about that, right? And I didn't want her to feel guilty about that. And I'm definitely of the stance, like, I'm not going to make her do something she doesn't want to do just because I do.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of crappy. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of counselors out there that would say that. Well, just do it,
Right.
to like, no, that is like that turns off for me. Like, if I know you're not into it, then I'm not going to be into it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's awful. And so it did come to a point where, we were sitting there and she suggested to me, like, hey, I don't know when I'm going to get out of this, and I don't want to do something I don't want to do, and I don't want to force you into this sexless marriage or this, where we're missing something. So, I want you to be open to go find a girlfriend and go find something else. And I heard that and I said, well, that's awesome. And that's got to be two-way, right? I'm not going to take something that's part of our relationship and go out there and find something without you also having that. Like, we live in the same rule structure, at least, right? I remember that conversation. We were in Texas and like we were sitting at a restaurant. We kind of actually had that that realization of like, we're about to open our marriage. This is the way this is going. And we're both kind of gatherers of information. So we immediately started looking up stuff. We happened to know somebody who had come out years earlier as polyamorous. We knew him and his wife, and then we heard their dissolution of their marriage, and we're like, oh, that's too bad. And then he came out as polyamorous, and we actually talked to him a little bit at that point, just to like, because he was our friend, not because we were interested in that. But like, immediately he popped up in our head, like, that's somebody we should at least talk to. Somebody who's even opened some of these doors, right? And he's the one that initially said, here are the podcasts you should listen to, right? And here are the people, here's some books you should read, right? And we just, as data gatherers as we are, we started to pull in that data and realizing that, yeah, this is the way we want to do things. And oh my gosh, I think mentally we've been here for a long time. We just haven't been able to step out of the social construct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in that because I'm just curious, right? Did you show up to this dinner in Texas and that was the start of the conversation and well, I guess we're doing it now? Or had you been sort of laying the groundwork and some breadcrumbs leading up to that point?
No, I think there definitely was groundwork, intentional and unintentional. Because as we started down this path, we started like looking back on previous relationships, and my wife, she would characterize herself. She has said this to me, so this is not me. I'm not putting words in her mouth. She said this to me, but like in her previous relationships, in college and whatever, she was a cheater, right? She liked variety. She wanted to do, go out with this person and then go out with this person. And, if she committed to this person, well, that was only for so long. And then she, that was it. She enjoyed that. And that gave her joy. Right. And I mean, we look back at that and we're like, oh, well, that's just how you naturally were, right? You weren't monogamous. You weren't built naturally to just like, all right, this is the path and this is the only person and that's it, right? I look back on my previous relationships and a woman I lived with, we actually, we lived together. We were teens, early 20s, and of course we had a relationship, but then we also had other relationships, but we didn't call ourselves poly or anything like that. We just called ourselves young.
Dating.
right. Dating, doing stuff. Right. And I look back on stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, a lot of that stuff makes sense to me now. That's why those things felt good. And when my wife and I first got together, I remember one of the first conversations we had about fidelity and stuff like that was my stance was like always cheating isn't the problem. Cheating's a symptom of some other problem, right? Something else is going on.
Yeah.
And little did I know it's not a symptom of another problem. It could just be a symptom of life.
Sure.
And she had the same thought that like cheating isn't the issue. There's something else going on. And so I think we had always had the mind of there's another door to open. There's something else out there, right? She had said very early on, like, if I ever stop, wanting to have sex with you, you can go have a different girlfriend, right? I'm like, okay, that happened years ago, right? And so to bring it up to this conversation, we had definitely, like, it didn't just randomly come up over tacos. We kind of went out to dinner, like, hey, we have some tension, and there was a point at which I said, we have this kind of issue with our physicality, with our intimacy. And, for the past few months or a year or so, it's been relatively okay for me, just because we've been stressed or whatever. And it hasn't been, but there had been at that point a couple of times in which like I started to feel resentment. And that's the bad, like, that's what I don't want to feel. And that's when I knew, okay, we need to do something about this. And so we had that conversation, and I think we already had the mindset of where it should go. We just didn't quite have the tools on what it should look like until we decided to flip that switch, and then realize how much resources are out there. How much
inundated with information.
Yeah. Oh man, I went down the typical new poly thing. I got ethical slut and open deeply and sex at dawn, and you read all the books and launched all the podcasts. All the multi-amory folks, Jason and Emily and Dedeker, they're all my best friends. And you guys, like, I listen to your voice, like, they're all in my head. So yes, everything. So that opened that door with us, and everything started to get happier and happier. So
yeah. Well, and I love too, like you said, it's not like you were necessarily having the conversations before that, but you had sort of nuggets to say, we're open to this, or we don't necessarily subscribe to the one and only mindset, right? And even like you kind of said your wife described herself as like a cheater, but it sounds like it wasn't that like cheating brought her joy. It was the way that she related to other people, and there wasn't really a construct for it other than infidelity, right? And now you've been able to open a door that says, okay, we can relate in ways that we both actually feel good relating, and we don't have to cheat anymore.
Exactly. It wasn't. Yeah. And to bring that further into the more present, right? So we sat down and we gathered information, and I said, hey, this is not a one-way street. Like, this isn't it. I just go do stuff. We need to both be able to do this. And she was, that kind of lit up something in her at that time. She was like, oh, I remember liking dating and stuff like that. And so we got on the apps, and we, we're finding stuff and finding people. And of course, as you and most of the listeners know, the apps are very different experiences from a male versus a female standpoint, right?
Yeah.
And she gets on, and I think I remember like the first night we get on and we create our profiles, and then like we're talking and we watch a TV show, and then later on she's like, oh, cool. I'm like, what? She's like, I have like 22 likes or something like that. And I'm like, what? Like how like I don't have any. I don't think anybody's even. And that was that. But that lit a fire in her about one of the things she truly enjoys is variety. Right? Is meeting people. Like, even in her professional life, she loves meeting people and getting to know people. Right? So she's just like, I just want to know all of the different life experiences that people have had and all the different stuff. Right? And then in her personal life, then she gets to take tech to a next level, right? Into physical realms. And so she's like, oh, it's this variety that I choose, that I desire, that this lifestyle allows me to choose to go out and do that. And that's, when we first started, she would date, somebody, I don't know, and she would be with them for a month or two, right? And she'd be like, I don't know. And it's like, oh, this is your variety. Like it's time to move on, right? It's your next show, right? And do that. And now she's like come to terms with like, oh, this does bring me joy. That like it really, really does when I meet somebody new, right? And the fact that now since we've been able to do that, light up both of our lives like that, yes, we both like sex quite a bit, and we like sex with each other and we like sex with other people. And, she does it her way and I do it my way. And we both have a pretty decent amount of compersion capacity. And so like that joy that you get when somebody, your partner walks through the door and they just had a really good time. And I'm like, you had a really good time. That is awesome. Right. Am I slightly jealous that I didn't also have a good time at that same time? Yes. But you coming in with this light on your face brings me a tremendous amount of joy. Right. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I love too that, right, this sort of initial conversation around this was born out of, hey, there's something in our partnership that and I wouldn't even say like a problem, right? It's just, we don't want this to become a problem. We don't want this to turn into something. So let's talk about it. And, you could look at that and say, well, if we were just to say, well, the core root was perimenopause, low libido, well, there's no real need for her to explore this. But in doing this, you found like a whole bunch of other parts of this that light you up and probably even brought that part back around in some way.
Oh, totally. Totally. I mean, it wasn't just open a door to a simple solution. It was open a door to a whole nother set of opportunities.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Redefine the whole paradigm of your partnership.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. And we got to go down the path of like, who are we as a couple, and, down the hierarchical, which is a big hill, big word nowadays. Everybody's doing a podcast on it. Yeah. And like we sat firmly in the like, of course, we built a life together. We have 15 years together, right? We own a house, we have kids, we have a dog, we're building a house somewhere else. Like none of that's going to get tossed away. And none of that is going to come second to some other partnership or something like that. Right. So I mean that in a logistical standpoint, this is another thing that I feel like we came to early on, was we both realized that emotions have to be a part of it, right? That I knew I wasn't going to be able to go out with somebody and be physically active with them and have sex with them and stuff like that, unless I had some feeling for them, unless I had some connection. Mm-hmm. That is the reins of sexuality that I have. We have definitely done the let's meet and have sex, and I know their first name pretty much, and that's it. And I get little out of that. It's not something I enjoy. And my wife, she finds that the same way. Like she does actually want to get to know them a little bit more. And so we said you can't remove feelings from it. And we also have this life. So it's more about, energy and logistics, right? If, I'm not going to plan a weekend away with my girlfriend when we have to finish this thing on the house, or the kids have a recital, or like those things will always be there. And, my wife and I work together. We use Google Calendar quite a bit, on these things to make sure things happen. And, of course, if we have something booked that's us, then it's us, right? Yeah. And we put that account. We don't utilize the hierarchy as in like veto power. We definitely started off with some rules. The nobody at work rule, came first. It is not easy to uphold.
I was going to ask you what some of those rules were like at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were, we started out really like no sex on the first date, always use protection, check their tested status. What else? It was, don't go after work or friends, just communicate. We always just had this like, we neither of us were ever like needed to, we're never really put ourselves in a situation where like we're out and then all of a sudden we're out at a dinner and all of a sudden we're going to hook up with somebody. That's just not either of us our MOs. So we never built any rules around that. But we also haven't seen that show
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
We definitely had like, don't sleep over someplace else, at first, and we've gotten past that and grown past that. The work thing, I'm in an industry that has a lot of people that come and go, and they don't necessarily work for me.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not like my employees, they're just other people. And so like excluding them became very difficult. That's also 90% of my social network that I get to deal with. Like
Right.
that those are the people that I know and the people that and unfortunately I've run into a couple that were also in line with our thoughts and had a very good relationship, with one early on that lasted, I don't know, a year and a half or so. And now I'm in one now we're on 7 months or so. And I like that quite a bit. And
And that actually leads me to my next question is you alluded to the fact that you and your wife kind of do non-monogamy in a little bit different way. And I'm curious for you, what does that look like?
For me personally, I definitely enjoy the time together in a little bit longer, more emotional connection and longer term style. Like I enjoy having a girlfriend better than just having multiple partners all over, right? So and regular scheduling and things like that. So, I've definitely been on the apps and gone on dates and met some people, and I have a couple of those people that I could contact and get a hold of and do things, and they may swing through or something like that. But for the most part, it's really just about like energy. And I really enjoy my current girlfriend, Em. She's fantastic. We have a great time together, and we're both like professionally independent. So it's not like she's dependent on me to do anything. But it's basically if I have family stuff, I have family stuff. If I have available stuff, she's the first call. Or she's like, "What are you doing next Tuesday? What can we do something this weekend?" Like she's that first. And if she was unavailable, then I would go down the next bit of something. It's not like, "Oh, I've had enough of her this week. I need somebody else next week." That's I'm definitely lean more towards that. And I guess that would lean more towards poly in the poly spectrum versus,
Sure.
the other. There's a that. And whereas my wife, while she definitely wants a connection with them, is more multiple comments versus a steady, steady single or two, something like that.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, Cooper, and I appreciate you touching on the hierarchy piece a little bit and how you two navigate that. And I think this is one of those places where people often, in the greater conversation around this, confuse or conflate priority with hierarchy. And again, not that there aren't really toxic ways to do non-monogamy or even monogamy right around this, where you could just, oh, well, my husband won't let me see you anymore, so I guess you're gone, right? It doesn't sound like you two do any of that, but also that, right, even the scheduling, and I'm curious like how you handle this, right? It's not like your partner or your girlfriend M can't reach out and say, "Hey, I'd love to see you." And you're like, "Oh, well, we've got this going on, but we could," like, it's not like you're not making time or she's not a priority, right? It's just sort of the order in which you're most likely scheduling things. You've got kids, you've got a job, you've got a household you're running, and those are often going to be where the most priority goes, but you communicate that, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yeah. And what word am I thinking of? The semantic difference between hierarchy and priority, right?
Yeah.
Like we've now attached these we're getting to attach more firm definitions on these things.
Sure.
I mean, when we started down this, we heard about hierarchy and we kind of fiddled around with that term, and we're like, yeah, that, like, of course we have some amount of hierarchy. I know that in the swinging, or in some of the worlds, that does have a negative connotation, and it's more around somebody being lesser in personhood almost, rather than and that I have a ethical issue with that. Right. I don't like that unless they've given full consent, because I guess that could be that's what I want to be. Right?
Could be part of the play.
But that, right, if it's part of the play, exactly. If you have that full consent, then that's cool. But a lot of people don't go into that with consent, and that's bad. That's toxic. But really, what you said, when it comes down to it, is if M reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I'd love to take you out to this thing on Tuesday," I don't have the ability to just say yes, screw everything else, right? I'm like, okay, let me go check the calendar. Let me go make sure stuff, make sure the kids are getting taken care of in the evening, whatever, right? And that's it, right? So if we want to call that priority, then we'll attach that name on it. We just have used the term. Yeah, of course, we're hierarchical because we will check with us as a married couple and as our family unit and as this empire that we're building together first, right? And make sure nothing's going to screw that up. I mean, and if anybody, if anybody had an issue, go ahead.
You're communicating that to other people too.
Yeah.
And so
totally.
they're opting in, like everyone's opting in to the dynamic.
Well, I think I often see this too, right? This is, to me, and again, I'm not going to say there aren't really shitty ways and toxic ways of doing this that have happened, but I don't see this often as much different than I'm going to start a partnership with somebody who I know works a really demanding job, or maybe they're on call all the time. They're a doctor or a paramedic or something. And so for me, like, I'm going into the relationship knowing they're really busy. I'm fitting into their schedule. Not only that, but like, I like this person for who they are. I don't want them to completely change their whole life for me. So I sort of know that I'm plugging into an existing system, and that I can't just say like, hey, I'm free tonight. Do you want to hang out? Like, well, no, my life isn't that free, but I know that going in.
Right. So it is about that opt-in communication. I guess to go back to like every relationship I've had, the first thing I talk about is my family.
Yeah.
Right. Because they do need to understand where my life priorities lie. Right. Yeah. That's it. And so they've got to be on board with that or not. I've never had anybody be like, well, that's too bad. Bye. But, I guess I have, even on some of the apps that we're on, they're like, I'm looking for kidless, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, they're not going to align with me. So there we go.
Yeah. We're not going to
see what they want.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I'm curious some of the challenges that the two of you have run into over the last few years.
Logistics are usually just the biggest ones, right? Just like who's going where with what. And, we have younger kids that are relatively independent, but we want to be somebody needs to be home when they get home from school and put them to bed and all that kind of good stuff. And that's, I'd say our biggest ongoing struggle is just the logistics of how we work that. And I'd say Google Calendar works phenomenally, right? And we've kind of both informally adopted if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, or if it's not on the calendar, that it doesn't set. Like if I get it on the calendar first, then I win for that evening, right? Like if I book that evening, then unless it's something that they can't get out of or something like that, but like that's it. So we're both highly attuned to that, and we both know that we are each happier when we are allowed to do these things. So there's never an aspect of disallow or no, I don't want you to go out this night because I just think you've gone out too much, right? Like that doesn't happen. Like you're happy as long as things are not getting like left out here. I mean, we both keep an eye on stuff. Like if the dishes are getting backed up and the kid, if she's been away for too long and I've been handling the kids every night for the past 5 days because she had a business trip and something else, right? Then she knows, comes back and realigns some things, and same thing on the other path on that. And like we communicate that. I would say of other things that we've mishaps or troubles or something like that, really it's been about emotions and relationships ending. Those have probably been the harder bits of things. I don't know. I think for my wife, since she doesn't have the same value put on that I do on like a continual relationship, like she definitely deserves, and I make sure to, and she reminds me if I don't, to revalidate our relationship and make sure nobody's taking somebody's place or something like that. We go through that. We have, I mean, this goes back to multi-amory. We have radar every once in a while, right? We did it like once a month for quite a while, and now it's not nearly as often. But sometimes if we're on a long trip, if we're in the truck for 2 hours or more, we'll sit there and blow through the things and just make sure we're on page and stuff. But she definitely had some difficulties when I was seeing somebody regularly for the first time, right? When we first, when we first opened up, we got on the apps and we both went on individual dates, and I never saw somebody more than once or twice, right? And I was not getting that much fulfillment out of it. It was just, yeah, it just wasn't. And the apps are not awesome. Like that's just, if you want a dude to feel bad about themselves, put them on a dating apps.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how that flew out. And then I realized, no, I really want something connection. And so I met my first girlfriend out of that, who was fantastic, and she was open to the idea, and so we, she herself was not non-monogamous, but that was not something that was out of her vocabulary or out of her ability, and so we did. And there was definitely a period of time in which my wife needed some like reassurance, like, are you replacing me? Are you, is this a new relationship that will then fade out ours? And so we had some good heart to heart talks that, I never ever wanted that or desired that or anything like that, but you still have to vocalize that and talk to each other about it, right?
Yep. That fear still exists. Yeah.
Right. And so we had those conversations, and that was I'd say that went over very well, right? And then the end of that relationship was probably just one of those other things, because it was a natural de-escalation. We still know each other, we're still friends, talk regularly, but we don't see each other physically anymore. But that was also like a loss, right? I had to mourn that loss, and my wife definitely kind of felt that from my side. When you're with somebody who is mourning that, like she of course didn't mourn it, but like you can feel that took some support. And she had the same thing. She did have a relationship that kind of went in fast and hard and deep, right? And so she was really in, and they were long distance, and so they saw each other a few times, and so they had this enormous, really great connection. And finally that needed to end, and it wasn't as nice of an ending as mine was with my girlfriend, and that was hard for her. And so I got to see the other side of that. Like, how do I console my wife on a relationship of hers that just ended, right? But I'm never one to be like, oh, that asshole. I don't want to, I don't bad talk people that aren't in the room. I don't like to do that. But how do you console her and make sure everything's good? So those are the harder things in our relationship that we dealt with. I don't think we've ever, we're already pretty good communicators. Like, we went into our relationship 20 years ago already pretty decent at communication. I like to say, like, we got married late. We got married at 30 and 31. We met at 20, I don't know, 6 or 7, something like that. No, 20, 27. Like, I like to say, like, we kind of already figured out ourselves, already grew up, I knew that.
Yeah.
So we started off with really good communication. So I think that has stopped a lot of what I hear of normally bad problems that are out there. Like, that communication level that we have between each other is never a me against you. It's a us against whatever. And just as long as we're talking about it, we're okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it sounds like too, in that coming together in your late 20s, and even now opening up a almost 20-year partnership, right? Because we often hear too, there's like these two different camps. There's we were open from the very beginning, and then there's we opened up a long-term partnership, and both of those come with different challenges and different hurdles to clear. And it sounds like, for the most part, you two kind of came together after figuring yourselves out a bit, but also understanding that, like, you're not, I think that we're not the one and only. I think that's often the mindset that happens when a long-term married couple opens. And again, generalizing, but it's that, well, we thought we were till death do us part, the one and only for the next 70 years. And now we're trying to detangle that. But it sounds like you two came in with a little bit of a looser grasp on that mentality.
Fortunately, we already had a mentality that, like, there's no way that one person can be 100% for the other person, right?
Totally.
We definitely do that. We just still were stuck to the the structural norm of monogamy around, but that can't be in sex, right? And that can't be in love or relationship or something like that. And we kind of grew out of that. And then, I mean, it really was like, once that door was opened, it wasn't just a door to another room. It was a door to a whole nother palace, right? Of like, oh my goodness, this is so much different. And I started refining my thoughts around it. I've heard other people say it, and it's like, well, when we had our another kid, right? We didn't love the first kid less, right? So like there doesn't seem to be a cap on love, right? So love is not finite. I can love more than one person. I can love more than one kid. I can love tremendously. I do have a cap on energy,
Yeah.
right? I only have so much of time and just availability to be able to do this, and some of that energy I just want for myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there is that we have to maintain, but love is not something you can cap or is supposed to be capped. And that was a little bit early on in our relationship when we realized, yeah, we're going to fall in love with people. Like, absolutely. What is that going to mean? Right. Well, that doesn't mean that I love you less. That doesn't mean that I love our family less. It just means it opened up this other love door that I had that allowed this more joy. And like, when you think about it like that, you're like, oh my God, why wouldn't everybody do this? Why wouldn't everybody want more love in their life? Right. Whether that's sexual love or relationship love or anything, but like, why wouldn't everybody want that? And around about the same time, even at my work, this was funny. I kind of ran an experiment in that I started to use that word at work also, like with the coworkers, and be like, hey, I love you guys. Right. And like the tone of the room changes. And the next day when they come in, they feel different. Right. And like people, when you can love somebody, but if you don't say it, then it's not one of those things. But then when you say like, hey, I love you guys, whether it's, like I said, whether it's romantic love or just, whatever, just love, like it changes how that interaction works from there on. We had a phenomenal, work environment because we all realized that, no, we're here. We spend hours of our days together, and we have all fumbled through ups and downs and stuff like that to all become this cohesive group that we love, and this is it, right? And my wife and I were the same thing. Like, well, there's no way we're not going to fall in love with somebody.
Yeah.
And so with that, when my first girlfriend, when I determined that yes, I do feel love. I'm in love right now. It wasn't that hard to deal with. It wasn't like, what's this happening? It was, oh, this is what's next. That's cool. And I'm glad that I can share this and not feel afraid about it.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm curious if you could dig in a little bit to Cooper, just to expand on that. Some of the ways that you've seen yourself grow through this process, right? I think these to me are the really exciting ones where we get to ask this question, because you had a 20-year monogamous partnership with some other, relationships before that. And now you've been on this path for a few years. Like, how have you seen yourself change? And how have you seen your partnership with your wife change?
That's a small question.
Right. Yeah, that's why we're here. We're here for the little ones.
Right. 4.
You got 2 minutes.
There's my answer. Gotcha. Wow. Well, the relationship with my partner, the relationship with my wife has changed in that we both celebrate each other's like wins and joys a lot better, a lot more. And I think just because we realize that celebration is also necessary, right? It would not like we didn't do that before. But now we're realizing that, oh, this joy does need to be celebrated a bit more. Our communication is like second level, third level, just like we know what's going on with each other. We really truly do enjoy each other's happiness. And I guess that's where it comes from. Like we truly do see what makes the other happy, and that makes us happy. There's that compersion that comes back. And so our relationship has grown in the fact that, gosh, we've never been happier with each other because we recognize how many and how different parts of their lives make us happy. And, we still have this dream. We're building a house, and we have a land and that kind of stuff. And like all of this is towards that. And like, as long as we're all smiling and skipping along the way, then great. Why would anybody stop any of that or put any stops to that or anything like that? I think personally I've grown because I can say things like that. Right. I have dove into relationships in general, not just romantic relationships, but even like work and boss and high, upper and lower level relationships and how people work together. I've always been a big enthusiast of personality tests and that kind of stuff, how interpersonal people work and all that kind of good stuff. Made me pretty decent at what I do. And this just opened more doors to, oh, this is this whole other side emotionally. I know I've had conversations with people that are nowhere near the non-monogamy spectrum or not open to that in any way. But the way I've been able to touch them and get into their feeling, get into how they create decisions and all that kind of stuff, that really this going down this non-monogamy path for me allowed me to dive in to figure out how I do it myself and how, how other people listening to everybody do this. All of that has opened up those that even my relationships with coworkers and other not normal, but other monogamous folks, how they act. And one of the things I concentrate on when I do consult with people, and I consult with people about their business and things like that, is try to open their mind up to things that wasn't open to before. Right. And, I can have a very weird aspect on that because I have that open mind on relationships. But, in a professional environment, I'm not going to start talking about that. But the construct allows me the language to talk to them about that. Right. And push those doors and where did you come to think that? How did you get there? Right. Oh, this is how we do it. Why? Why do you do it that way? Right? How did you, what's the purpose? It could be totally valid and that's why you do it. But did you ever bother to question why you do it like that? Or try a different way? Or sample these other ways of doing it that these other people did and seem relatively successful. So let's see what this is doing. It's really helped me out in that realm, in my personal realm. And I think also just above all of that, I have happiness in so many different aspects of my life. It's hard to be sad. It's hard to be, disturbed at any time. I can always bring joy to a room. That's just being able to allow that joy and that love in my life allows me to share that a lot more.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think there's the deeper aspects of this, but even if the answer is just I'm a hell of a lot happier now, and I that's just as valid and as important. So I love it.
Yeah. It's allowed me to listen to podcasts like yours and others and dive into more relationship dynamics. I have a hankering back goal around I would love to consult with people around opening their marriage or something like that. Cause I consult with people regularly on business. This is my part of my job. And so I'm used to gathering data, going over stats, whatever, and having different pathways for different processes and stuff like that. And I think what I've seen out there is, like you actually, Finn, you mentioned, there's the people that have been open from the beginning, and then the people that have been married in a monogamous relationship, and then they open. And I think there's a lot of resources out there for people that are opening from the beginning that don't have a structure already that needs to be maintained or something like that. Whereas there's not a whole lot of resources out there other than their own family therapist to go to. For people who have been married for 10, 15, 20 years and they're opening, a lot of the data that you gather, you're like, well, that won't work for me because we are married, right? Or that doesn't, this is something that that doesn't work out because we do have this relationship. And I go back to our hierarchy conversation earlier. When you're thinking about that early on and you see some things that say hierarchy is bad and you're like, but how is it bad? I have to put some level of priority on this.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. The thought of opening up a relationship is often new, scary, daunting for people. And then you start doing the research and it's well, in order for you to do it ethically, you have to completely destroy all of the hierarchy that's existed in your life and rebuild from the ground up. Otherwise, you're somehow you're unethical and a bad person. And that's a really tall hurdle to clear.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't necessarily have to, It's obvious that, but that's what we get a lot. Oh, you need to go back to the drawing board on your relationship styles and maybe not. I would say I subscribe a little bit more to the RA style relationship anarchy-ish, right? Yeah. But with hierarchy. So I want to develop my relationships and curate them the way it makes me feel happy that everybody is on board with, right? And that's it. We had trouble putting labels on who we were and where we fit in the polyamory, non-monogamy spectrum. And we realized, well, one, we're in slightly different spots, and two, the label doesn't exist. So, I want to put my own, and RA kind of does that. I think it was a a multi-amory episode where they were talking about the smorgasbord, right? Like, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, I have relationships with everybody, and I think I don't want to cross.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
You're good.
Look, we love multi-amory's work, and one of the conversations I think that always sticks out in my mind is the beginning of one of our interviews with Dedeker. She talks about this, where she's like, over time, I've really loosened my grip on what I sort of feel is right or okay, right? I think earlier it was more rigid around some of these things around hierarchy and everything. And now she's like, as long as we're treating each other with kindness and respect, and she's like, I really don't care how you do it. Like, let's communicate, let's take care of one another, and let's just be good to each other.
Yeah, that's really what it's about. And it's that, like, I mean, if you can boil that down to a word, it's like, it's consent. It's like, oh, I get it. I also want to do this, right? Yeah. Like that's cool. I think my wife and I joke the very strict hierarchy is a really cool thing for early 30 somethings from Portland to really, hang on to. Just like, okay, I get it. And that's too generalistic. And I apologize to all the people from Portland in the early 30 somethings, but, and like, and that's just like, once you live a little bit more life with your partner and live with just in general, then some of those definitions get a little more flexible and attainable. Even when we first got in, if you read Ethical Slut, then like you think any monogamy is awful, right? That nobody should do that. Like oh, and if that's a fully consensual method that you go into and you get it and that's what you want to abide by, then go for it, right? That's cool. I'm all for it. I don't think that most of them are in full consent. They just think it's the only option they got, which is fundamentally against consent, right? If you can't say no, then there technically isn't consent. So
yeah. I'm also curious how open you are in your world about non-monogamy and your relationship.
Yeah. Oh, well, not very. That's been a subject of talk as of late. Just who can know? Like both of our parents are religious, conservative sets of folks that we love and treat dearly. We still have very good relationships with everybody, and this would ruin it, right? And this would they won't understand that. They're not at a position in their life in which they would have to, right? They wouldn't even try. They'd be like, oh no, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And not be good. So we can't be there. I'm in an industry and have some relationships in which if I were truly out, it could really pigeonhole me into some places that would not be good.
Yeah.
It's not a protected class.
Right. Nope.
So
right. It's not
something that I can do. That makes so story along with that. So my current girlfriend, M, she is technically a coworker, or she works at the same place, and she happened to have like we kind of got along and flirted a little bit at the beginning, right? Just as niceties and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, she's a great person, whatever, right? That's cool. And then we started to have a little bit more conversations not around work, right? Around outside stuff. And just like, I hold some pretty, wonderful thoughts around consciousness and singular consciousness and that we're all part of one general consciousness, and time doesn't really exist, and all these, I love thinking about that stuff. And I started opening up to that, and she was on the same level around that. And so like we started opening up more conversations around things that were a little bit more fringe and out there. And then there was some terminology that was tossed back and forth, maybe purposeful, to
test the waters.
Grounds,
you gotta test the waters.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I threw out the term vanilla around something, and it perked her ears because she knew what that, in the non-monogamy space, what vanilla means. And so I think it was a matter of hours after that we were like, we have to eat lunch together because I think we have something serious to talk about. And so we did. So we had lunch, and we were like, okay, I'm just going to say it, I'm non-monogamous here, and so that opened up that door between us. So that was the first time I'd really come, quote, open at a work, right? Something or other. And that's about our friends. We have a couple of friends sets that we have met in the space, either met them on the apps or met them at a party or something like that that we keep up with. One actually lives near us. They're super nice. They just had a baby. They're friends now. And so they of course know. And then at the beginning of the episode, we talked about the poly friend that we knew. Like, we know him. He lives far enough away that we don't interact with him regularly, but I would call him a friend in that space that knows and that kind of stuff. But neither of us, and including my girlfriend, we're not out there as, hey, we're that poly parenting couple, at the school. Like, they don't know us that, that's been subject as of late, because our kids are 9 and 10, and they're getting to the point in which they're going to start wondering. I mean, my girlfriend does stay over, on occasion, and they'll see her at night and they'll see her in the morning. Right. And they put that together. Her car is still parked out front.
Yeah.
Same thing with some of my wife's partners. Like, they'll see them at night and see them in the morning. And we, like, early on, my wife and I decided that we're not going to, like, we can't love somebody and care for somebody without inviting them into our lives. Right. And so, like, there definitely is a comfort zone in which we need to get to before we introduce them to family and stuff like that. But once we get past that, like, yeah, you can come over, and if the kids see you, they're like, hi, whatever. Like, this is mom's friend. This is dad's friend. Like, they know that. So we've never, well, one, we didn't want to deal with the logistics of having to hide that. Right. And that's also doesn't seem, I guess that's where we played the nice part of hierarchical. That doesn't seem fair to the partner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was going to say that to me, is like part of the hierarchy conversation. I think that often really can feel shitty to people is when they're hidden in a way where they can't even exist. Or, you walking down the street with them and you see somebody and you like shove them in an alley. Well, and you keep walking, right? Like that cartoon kind of version of that. But it sounds like you said, like, we're not going to fall in love with people and bring them into our lives without actually bringing them into our lives, right? They exist as people. They can be part of our lives. They can come over for a barbecue. They can even stay the night, once we establish that. But maybe the hurdle to doing that, or the barrier to that, changes, or there's some level, right? You're not going to have your kids meet somebody on your first date, but ultimately at some point, if this is going well and we love each other, or even if we just like each other and we're around, sure, right? You're not hiding these people from the world.
Right. And that's part of the connection between us, between me and that partner, right? They've, like, I would not feel right at all. If I was like, yeah, you're my partner, but you can't be a part of this part of my life, And on that, and back into the, how open are we and stuff like that. My wife and I have had very specific conversations about, if we're out with another partner and we see somebody else we know, right? What is that? We've rehearsed the conversation we would have with them. We're like, hey, we happen to, have a relationship that this is open, and we're both happy to speak with you about it sometime. Right.
Yeah.
I would love for both.
Talk about it. Yeah.
Right. If you want to talk about it, we're both on board to do that. Right. And we've had that conversation a lot between us to make sure of that. And, there have been times when we've been out and seen somebody, but didn't have to interact with them or something like that. So we haven't had to cross that path just yet. But both of us also, same thing. We subscribe to the like, if I'm out with my girlfriend and we're walking down the sidewalk to dinner, like, I want to hold her hand, right? I don't want to deny her that feeling, that touch, that, conveyance of love that I want to give, right? Just because I'm afraid somebody across the street might see me, right? And that fear really is rooted in what would happen with my relationship. And so since that doesn't exist, like, I know my marriage is going to be fine. I mean, if somebody's like, I'm going to tell your wife, I'm like, cool, she already knows. Like, I am too when I get home. with my girlfriend. We're all going to have a conversation. So like that fear is gone. It more exists around. I have a, and this, I always hate myself when I say this because it makes me feel like I'm making myself too important. But I have a job where more people will recognize me than I will recognize.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I host classes and things like that. And so there very well may be times in which we're out and somebody knows who I am and I have absolutely no idea who they are.
Yep.
And that's, but that also means they probably don't know my wife and don't know that this person I'm with is not my wife. And I guess I put too much thought into that. Like, then they're probably not even thinking about me. They don't care about that nearly as much as I think they care about that.
Right. Well, and it's also that how much of our lives can we live like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's an easy, slippery slope to step on. I'm speaking from experience, right? We can sit and try to cut off every possible way that somebody might know something, but how much are people really caring? How much are they looking at us going, oh, wait a minute, I thought this person, like, no, I think people don't pay that close of attention most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. They don't. And like I said, we have yet to come across a time in which we needed to exercise that speech.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We just haven't yet. We do both. And I've been listening and trying to dig for more podcasts around people coming out with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And because our kids are coming to that age. I think we're going to build it up more dramatic in our head than it's going to be in real life. And it's still a fear, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And what type of coming out is it really? Like, they both know our friends. They both know M. If they knew that M was a more permanent, loving establishment in my life, would that change anything? Like, probably not. They'd be like, okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah. For them, with the way you two, I'd imagine, with the way you two kind of operate on a day-to-day basis, it probably likely feels like a fairly normal flow of life.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. I think that the biggest concern would be, are they going to bring up my girlfriend to grandma and grandpa?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, oh, the other day when Dad and M were over, like who's that? Like, oh, how do I got to build a story around this, right? That's not going to put my kids into issues and whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the tricky part, right? Is you don't want your kids to have to be lying or putting a secret on them. I think that's often the struggle that people fall in, for sure.
Yeah. But I think, what you said, I think they're going to have a much better grasp on it than, they already have a better grasp on even gender fluidity and, different types of partnerships and that kind of stuff. They have, friends that have two moms and two dads. And, even though we're in Arizona, it's a fairly conservative, it still exists. Right. And so like, I don't think this is going to be so far out that they're going to be surprised or disturbed by it.
Yeah.
Well, and I imagine their lives, right? I think, again, kind of back to when people see us out and about, right? Do they really care? And I feel like with kids, it's like, is my life changing? Do I still get to do all the stuff that I like to do? Then I really don't give a shit what you do because I really care about me.
Right. Yeah. Is she still going to come over and play, the Switch games with us? Like, yes. Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So you're not allowed to break up with her because we like playing video games.
Exactly.
But other than that, fine.
That may be the more that was we were less into it, but previous girlfriend, they definitely knew her and they were like, where is she? Like, well, not. She's still around, but not going to come over anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So fun times in the adult world of this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. And I love to, just touching on that piece really quick and back to the conversation about going through breakups, right? I think these are some of the things that people don't think about when they're going down this path, right? It's, what happens when, you do break up with somebody. And I think one of the pieces that we've talked about together that, an experience that I feel very few people relatively few people in life have is supporting a partner going through a breakup. And that is it can be a bit of a wild experience to sit with somebody, hold them while they're crying, and you're like, but I'm still here. Like, we're still in love and married, right? Yes. And I'm still really sad and crying. And you're like, oh my gosh, my brain breaking a little bit right now, right? And so
Yeah.
I think that kind of comes into around, okay, you've de-escalated to a friendship. They are still a friend, but they might not be coming around the house, the family, the kids as much. And then having to navigate that. Like, these are the sides that we don't often hype up or talk about.
Very much so. And I would say both of our, well, I guess this is funny. I guess my communication style, my wife, when we got together, we have a prenup. So, I mean, we already determined what end was going to look like as we started, right? Like we already knew that, hey, we're going to try our best to make this last forever. And if it doesn't, I want to lay this out there.
Yeah.
And so even our current relationships, especially me, because I tend to dive into more long-term style, like I talk about that up front. Like I have that conversation like, hey, I really enjoy it. And I don't ever, right now, I don't want this to stop. And if it does, I want to make sure you know that this, that I'm going to still be friends. I'm never going to talk bad about you. Right. I'm not going to do that. Whatever. And so we do talk about that up front.
Yeah.
Right. That I put that out there. And I follow through with that. Like I said, my previous relationship, like we still talk probably 2 or 3 times a month, right, on the phone, just to like catch up, because we both are in similar industries and we chat together, and she goes through her guy problems or whatever and chats with me about stuff because she can, and I'm good at that, and all of that's still there. But the de-escalation was difficult, but it was easier because we'd already opened that conversation up. Like, hey, this is probably what this is going to look like.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
I could definitely see that being more difficult as a partner is more integrated into my family, right? I wouldn't call them integrated in my family, but they know her, they enjoy her, they know them. If that stopped happening, that would be hey, what happened to so and so? Or I really wanted to do something with this person. Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
That's going to be something to navigate. It's going to be a nice hurdle to jump in the future.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, and I love what you said too, Cooper, about talking about the end at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a thing that people really don't want to do because you're in NRE, you're excited. But
it's hard to bring up.
Yeah. Hey, let's just talk about when we break up for a few minutes. What's that going to, right? Most people aren't excited to do that. But I think even talking about it, like you said, being a little bit realistic that most likely this will end at some point. I don't want that today. But here's what endings look like for me. Here's what I might need. So you're not trying to navigate the ending while you're in some emotional turmoil around what's, happening. So much harder.
Right. Yeah. I heard it on another show the other day. Like, do I need a complete cutoff for a month? Or am I going to expect to just be jumped right back into friend zone immediately, and we're just not going to have sex anymore, but we're going to talk about our day, right? Or what does that look like? And that definitely needs to be discussed. And I'd say that's a filter, right? If you're in NRE and you start talking about the end, and they're like, "That's weird, though, you're freaking me out," then they're probably not somebody on the same communication level as me.
Yeah.
Well, right? Or even to your point, right? If my style is, or what I typically know of myself is, hey, I'm going to need a month. I might need 2 months of just maybe no contact, or maybe very limited contact to just come back and get my shit together. And the other person's like, well, I need to jump right in and I want to be friends. And right. If 2 people look at that and go, your way is unpalatable for me, then this is a good time to stop. Right? Like, let's stop before it gets more intense. And then we are standing at that precipice going, this really sucks. Your way sucks. You don't like my way, whatever. You could avoid all of that by having that conversation.
Right. And I mean, that opens up that door of like, if that's how you handle loss, right, then even when our relationship is good and you have loss, we're not going to be compatible with how we work with each other. That's going to be difficult.
Sure.
I'm the one that needs I have a loss, I need to shut down, and you're going to be feeding me of like, this is how it's like, that is not going to work. So, yeah.
Well, and and neither way is wrong.
Right.
But
Right,
they might
exactly.
not be compatible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about Lego bricks coming together, not necessarily the wrong ones. They're just, which ones fit.
Yep.
How do they fit? Yeah. I'm curious too, do you, I guess, sense anything shifting for the two of you in the future? Or the three of you, I guess. Like, do you, what's your sense of that?
I would not call us a triad.
Right.
Right, but
I didn't mean it that way. Just like
Okay.
the dynamic between you and your relationships at the moment.
I guess my best answer to that question is possibly, but that door is open, right?
Yeah.
We've both come to know that, like, hey, we're in this life that we built together, and we have a house that we're building, and it's in a place that we love. It's a big, we have acreage and all this kind of stuff, and that is a place our kids we're gonna grow up. All of that stuff is definitely what we're building and what we love. And if this morphed into something where, you know what, I didn't want to have a sexual relationship with her anymore, and I just wanted to have this over here, we would be able to talk that through and figure out how that works, right? We would be able to manage that if we wanted to. These aren't things that I think would happen right now, but I mean, if it was like she decided, you know what, I want to live somewhere else, but I still want to do this thing, like, we would talk that through and figure out how that works. Like, I guess this opening of the non-monogamy door, well, I said it opens up to this whole like enterprise of situation, allows us to not throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing, right? Just like, hey, if there's a little change, that doesn't mean the rest of everything has to change, right? We talk about it, we figure out, okay, what does that look like? It will by domino effects change a couple of things, right? And what can we retain out of the energy and the life and the empire that we've built now that we still love, right? What would stay the same?
Yeah. It's
totally.
all about the communication.
Totally. And so I'd say we're not shutting any of it out. I don't see anything crazy. I mean, I really quite enjoy the relationships that I'm in right now. I could probably, I could see myself opening up another one possibly, but right now I'm still in that. We've been together for a little over 6 months, and I would say I still got some NRE going on, and it's that, if I got a spare night, I'm not firing up the app, figuring out who. I already know who, right? And like that's where I sit right now. Lives and energy may change in the future that would change that, but that's where we sit.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it. And I just appreciate you sharing that and everything we've talked about today, Cooper. And for reaching out, you reached out to us, and this is something we say at the beginning of every episode, is just reach out to us. We'd love to have you come on and share your story, and having you reach out with your enthusiasm and excitement to come on and be here, and you joined the community, and we're just excited to get your story out and to have you in our orbit a little bit more. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'm excited that I joined the community. I am looking forward to having a little bit more time to actually, be in there, and with my current life hold right now with building a place and doing that stuff, like I'm finding myself fairly limited on time, and all of those other things have an end to them. Like we are all looking forward to getting some amount of time back, and I'd love to be a bigger part of that community. I've been that in other communities and other parts of my life, in cycling communities or something like that, where I want to be a part of it and I want to contribute. And so I look forward to being that. And you guys really did open up a very easy door, or had a very easy door to open, right? Like, you're very welcoming. You have a very great podcast, and just had that, like, hey, reach out to us. And I was like, I would love to share the story. Like, I feel like I have a really good, perspective on life in this relationship. And I just wanted to, be able to talk about that and open that up. And I don't hear a whole lot of 40 something married couples opening in this way.
Yeah.
Right. We run a lot of swingers. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say anything bad about swingers.
Nope.
And that already fits in a category of that's what they do, and that's how they do it. And that's that we decided pretty early on that wasn't our our show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel like there should be, like, statistically, there should be a lot more people like me out there that just don't feel comfortable enough to be like me out there.
Yeah.
Well, here's the hoping that they hear this and reach out and share.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and just like I said, thank you for doing it and for being here. And and around the community, I think that one of our favorite parts about that community and what we built is you don't have to be in there all day, every day, right? It's there when you need it and it's there for you, but it doesn't require being addicted to the app and being in there 24/7 in order to get something out of it. So glad to have you part of it.
Yeah, very much so. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we let you go today?
I love this question. Thank you. Just because it always just lets people add a little bit of inspiration at the end. And I guess my journey has been fun and all that kind of good stuff. And I really do want to impart on people that like I honestly don't think monogamy is our wired way, right? And I think exploring the non-monogamy world on whatever that is, whatever your sexuality's, asexual to hypersexual preference and all that, we don't need to put so much value on the physical sexual activities or emotional connectedness that we have to put that in a box and put it away when we meet one person, right? That nobody else can have that. I think that's really pretty unhealthy for our society as a whole. And so, and if there's one other thing out there that I wanted to put, it's just like, it's just take some time to re-examine what it means in your relationships and your ability to love and ability to accept love, and open up that door, because everybody's happier when we get to share those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes.
I love
beautiful.
That. And like you said too, right? It maybe you do take a look and you're like, I like this monogamy thing and I'm going to keep doing it.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
No one's here to say you shouldn't. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I say to vegans, right? They have they have the good reasoning behind they're doing it. Fantastic. If they're doing it because they saw, a show on it and that was it, or that it was trendy, like that's just you. But when you've made it a conscious choice and you've volunteered into it, you full consent.
Yeah.
Then you have my full support on your decision.
Totally.
Because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you again for being here, and it was so wonderful to talk with you.
Thank you, Fenella. This has been fantastic.
And we're back. Thank you again, Cooper, for reaching out, sharing your story today. It was so wonderful to talk with you. So thank you again.
And thank you for being a member of our community.
Yes, exactly. A quick reminder that our next monthly workshop for our community is tomorrow. That's July 17th, 2025. And it's called The Role of Somatic Attachment in Relational Repair. And it's going to be facilitated by David Cooley. We would love to have you come join us. Go over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the community tab. There you can find out information about how to join our community and about all of these workshops that we're doing. We're doing monthly workshops, so if you miss this one, don't worry. You can actually watch the recording as part of being a part of our community, and you get a bunch of upcoming workshops as well.
Yep, and then I suppose we'll just jump right into next week.
Next week
we've got an incredible conversation with Sarah. Super fun. We got, this is our first elder Gen Z. Yeah.
Yes.
So someone in their late 20s who's been exploring non-monogamy for a few years. It's a fantastic conversation, full of energy. We will see you in a week.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Actually, we'll see you tomorrow at our workshop. Right?
Yes, and then next week.
Then next week. Okay.
Now again.
Now again.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.